So I was watching a documentary on Steve Jobs.
Okay.
And it was in the movie too, but I didn't really pick up on it. The Steve Jobs movie with Michael Fassbender. Did you ever see that?
No.
So I didn't know this. He's got a reputation for being a very difficult boss, but he also denied that he ever had a daughter for a long time. Not always, but for the first 7 years of her life, he had a high school sweetheart. He had a daughter with her. Mm-hmm. He denied that it was his for 7 years, was like barely involved in her life. Then she came and lived with him for a period of time. At one point, it made headlines because he would not pay child support for her. And when the headline, came out, they interviewed him and they said, "Why won't you pay?" He said, "I had my guys do an algorithmic test on the DNA test that they administered to me, and 28% of America could be her father." Like it was just, and could be in turns fatherly, and then depending on how things were going at work, by her own account, disown her emotionally and verbally.
Weird.
And I also, and I know this one is nobody's gonna like it, but I was looking up other great men with other sides to them. Martin Luther King Jr. cheated on his wife all the time. Mm-hmm. And I want to say all the time, but friends and people close to him, the FBI says 40 plus, but even friends close to him say with 10 to 12 other women. And they tapped his phones, and so they have all of this. This won't be unsealed for everybody to see until like 2029. But the record is fairly clear, at least amongst people around him, that this was happening. JFK.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that one's... I don't think anyone debates that one. JFK...
Well, it's just incredible. Bill Clinton did what he did, and I'm not defending it, but JFK is one of those revered presidents.
Oh, yeah. JFK is just lucky that he grew up in a different era than Bill Clinton.
Who cheated on his wife 3 times a day, sometimes with underage women.
Yeah.
And...
No, JFK did... He's good for him that he wasn't around when cell phones were around.
So... and also when the culture hadn't gotten there, because I just don't think people cared that this was happening in some way.
No, people knew. Marilyn Monroe sang him a song.
Yeah. So I didn't know what to make of it other than what do you do? And we talked about Michael Jackson, which may or may not be true, the allegations against him. But what do you do with these icons, these people who in one area of their life are incredible, in some ways heroic, and in some other facet of their life have completely fallen down on the job morally?
You throw the nuance away and you idolize them.
Or demonize them.
Seems pretty obvious.
You chuck the nuance.
Society has given us this answer.
Black or white.
Achieve enough. And all of your sins are forgotten.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is.
And probably just accept that all humans are nuanced and no one is pure good and no one is pure evil.
Sure. I think that's the right answer. I also notice in my own life, though, that when I've admired people in my own life that I've aspired to be like them, that it is tough to emulate specific traits from one person and not take the whole package.
Oh, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible. Like, I love Tony Robbins. I learned a lot from Tony Robbins. His relationship advice at times, I think, is questionable. And I just took all of it. And it led me down a not enjoyable relationship where I was trying so hard to just put his teachings into practice, and it was leading me to be miserable.
Yeah, and what you're going to get, for better or worse, is his almost, in some cases, insistence on the positive outlook, which can be good, might not be good.
You're the one who sent me the clip where the husband and wife are talking, and he says it's the husband's job to stand there and take any abuse. He literally says physical, verbal. She's going to be mean to you. She might hit you. She might spit on you. And that's her way of showing you that she loves you.
She's testing you.
To which I said, if this is how this woman shows love, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm going to find someone who doesn't show love by hitting me and emotionally abusing me.
Sure. And
Tony's thing is,
I'll give
forever.
him a bit
forever.
of, well, not forever. It was within the context of that intervention, and for like 90 days after.
That was his advice
and for the next 90 days, that she was going to test him because he hadn't been there. And I felt similarly to you, which is like,
well, but when I watched that when I watched the exact same thing you sent me. Funny enough, when I was about 24, and internalized all of it, and could not be chased away by bad behavior because of it.
And I'll give context to this because that comment. So Tony Robbins does interventions at his event. This was a couple that had been fighting. The man, according to the woman, had not been emotionally present in the relationship. And now that he was ready to step back up, what Tony is telling him is she's not going to believe you. She's going to test you, which means that she's going to be cruel. She might swing at you on occasion. She's going to spit venom at you. But that's all a test to make sure that you're real.
Yeah. And I'm watching this at 24 thinking Tony is a god.
Writing notes.
Okay, great. When someone treats you poorly, it's a test.
Yeah.
And a real man is strong enough to take it.
Yeah.
And you can just have infinite tolerance because you're a man. And I was like, cool, I can do that.
Yeah. I got it.
I
Tony,
did it.
The abuse keeps coming. Things are going very well.
I'm passing every test.
My man,
I have not dumped her yet,
yeah,
despite the abuse.
Exactly. So I think that as relates to these men, not that you have to copy everything, but it's tough. It's tough to emulate parts of a person and not get everything. Plus, when you're a moral leader in some ways, and then you fall down on other ways, you have to ask, okay, well, this system of morality clearly isn't working.
Well, it's interesting. People seem to struggle to follow people that are nuanced, if that makes sense. Like like if you consider yourself a Trump supporter, you struggle to say he also does a lot of things poorly. And if you consider yourself a Trump hater, you struggle to go, at the same time, though, compared to Obama, XYZ, XYZ.
I like one policy, two policies.
And being like, net, I prefer Obama. Net, I prefer Trump. But here's what they do well and here's what they do poorly. Yeah. And weirdly enough, that's something a lot of people seem to struggle with. It's like once you throw your hat behind someone, no information will get you to switch and no information will get you to admit they're bad in a certain area. And not for everyone, but I see it a lot. I see people coming to the defense of behavior I know they don't actually believe in, because they've already gone on record supporting the person.
Sure.
And they struggle to go, I was wrong, or I still support the person, but this is bad.
Yeah. And we've talked about how your early relationships with your mom and your dad can define what you think of masculinity and femininity. But I also think, because I read a book that pointed in this direction, one of the tendencies of children is either to idolize or demonize their parents. And the hardest thing to do is accept the humanity of your parents, that the grayness of them, and the fact that they are people just like the ones like you and the ones that you see who are regularly making mistakes but elevating themselves above.
That's what I struggle with the most, actually.
Yeah.
My friends I can do, famous people these days I can do. My parents are still the ones that I struggle to have a nuanced view of.
To imagine that you could have gone to high school and somebody did go to high school with them.
Yeah.
And they were like someone at that school at one point.
And had virtues and vices and flaws.
And what they say is that in addressing your relationships to your family, you then learn to apply the same sort of nuance to people outside of your family. So the degree to which you'll be able to approach the world in this understanding that there's humans and it's gray, all this kind of stuff, is related to your ability to look at your own family and go, mom wasn't perfect, nor was she a devil. Dad wasn't perfect, nor was he a devil. These were people with both. And I can hold that. That's as big as that is. I can't just put a label on them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm actually at like an A level for everybody but my parents. Tony Robbins, I get it. MLK, I get it.
Yeah.
Trump, I get it. I actually feel like politically I'm much more willing to accept the nuance. But yeah, mom and dad
no
can do no wrong.
Saints.
Yeah.
They didn't mistake.
It wasn't a mistake. That was a plan that they had. They didn't tell you or themselves about. Idiot.
Everything turned out perfect.
You fool.
Yeah. No, I suspect, and I don't know, because I do agree with you. I see the same tendency in you, and I think that you are capable of going, these people are, they're both. They're everything. But yeah, and I see the same tendency in you towards idealization. Yeah. I wonder what'll happen. Maybe you'll just get mega mind when you can just completely understand everyone.
That's when my body dissolves and I just become consciousness.
Exactly. You become universal consciousness after you get that